Hey you guys, this is Professor Vitt. Congratulations, you've done it. You're at the final, last project for the course. This is usually the most entertaining, most enjoyable portion of the course for most students. And so at the outset, I just want to tell you guys to have fun, right? Try to enjoy this project. Pick something that you like and enjoy, right? You're putting together, it's kind of a celebration of knowledge. You're putting together everything you've learned. Okay. Let's start. So this is for your final project, and you can see here we have a wonderful quote from Shakespeare. There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy. And the quote here from Hamlet is meant to tell you, look, let's pick a crazy topic and let's do our best to be objective. You know, maybe it's something that we don't think exists in our worldview, right? Whatever it is. You know, it's some kind of interesting thing. It could be Bigfoot. It could be, right, any of the topics that I list. But try to use that to your advantage. Okay, pick something that you like. That's really the bottom line. Okay, first off, what are you going to do first? Okay, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to help to assess and discuss the impact of extraordinary claims on society. So the way that you're going to do this is you're going to make two posts. The first one is you're going to go to this website right here, whatstheharm.net, and I'll click on it. Let's see if it'll, if I go right click, no. Let's do. There we go. Okay, so you're going to go to this website and you're going to pick some story. Pick from some topic here: medical, supernatural, paranormal, religion, misinformation, miscellaneous, pseudoscience. And you're going to find a case where someone was hurt as a result of unfounded beliefs. So I'm going to zip between these two. Now, there are different ones that you can pick. Like I said, one thing I want you guys to be aware of, some of the older links on this website don't work, and that's very frustrating. And believe me, I've thought about alternatives, but there aren't so many links that are dead that this is an impossible website. So I just clicked on Chiropractic Medicine. Now, quick note, I've gone to a chiropractor in my life. It's fine if you go to a chiropractor. It's fine if you believe in them. Remember, this is just a question of what are the arguments on both sides with regard to chiropractic medicine, not, oh, which one is actually, you know, the one that's right for me in my life. So the point of this course isn't for you to adopt whatever beliefs I tell you to, right? But it's for you to be familiar with both sides of an argument so you can make up your own mind. So I just clicked on this, going to a chiropractor, and it says, so Linda Barter, age 42, in England, had a permanent neck injury in 1997 after manipulation, right? She now has a permanent neck problem and has to take tranquilizers daily. Here's another woman from South Carolina. She died in 1993 after seeking relief from sinus headaches from her chiropractor. A neck manipulation caused a brain stem stroke, and she died 3 days later. Chiropractor paid a $1,000 fine. So you can click on the link. Some of them aren't working still. This one is. So I encourage you guys to find a topic that you find interesting, and then you're going to click on the link, read the story, and then you're going to do the following. Your post is going to link to the original story. So I actually I didn't pick that one. I picked this one about alternative medicine. So I have a sample post here for you guys, right? So this is the link here. I would start with the link, and then I have my post down here. So I have my link to the original story, and that's going to summarize. So I've done that, and then I'm going to summarize who, what, when, where, and how. I did right here. I notice I'm missing a comma. And then last, I'm going to make clear what the harm is to the public or to an individual. So here's a sample post. I'll let you read through it. When you then get to the second post, right, that you're going to make, you're going to react to someone else's post. So something that somebody else, oh, hold on, we've got a question. You can come here. Do you have a question?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. You're going to react to someone else's post. Now, in that post, take a moment to review the article that they've read. So click on their link. and remark on it. So here I remark that, there's this comment by a doctor in the case that, it's a tendency for illnesses to plateau naturally. So they get times where you get better and then worse, right? Cancer, this happens frequently. It's a cyclical sort of disease. And oftentimes what can happen is in the normal cycle of an illness, maybe somebody's feeling particularly bad and the disease is progressing, so they become perhaps more desperate seeking treatment, so they go to some place seeking an alternative treatment. And then even if they had not gone to the alternative treatment, right, they may begin to feel better because their body is continuing to fight. And so the illness tends or appears to subside a little bit, the symptoms get a little better, and the person conjoins they're getting better with this alternative medicine, and they say, oh my gosh, right, this must be working. And in fact, probably explains much of how people can get fooled into alternative medicines that don't have any empirical support whatsoever. So that's just an example of a simple post. And the point of doing this is that we all begin to understand that look, it is super important for us to think critically and think in regards to evidence for policies and beliefs that we take into our own lives. And if we don't do that, this first post is just a reminder that, gosh, that can go wrong, can't it? Right? There are detrimental effects to some of these unfounded beliefs. So there's a reason why we take this class and we think critically as a society. It's because we want to avoid harm, right? It's not enough to just say, I want my beliefs to be true. We want our beliefs to be true, and in that sense, then hopefully they will be helpful to us, right? Okay, what do you do next? Okay, so the first thing that you do whenever you post and you get into the class discussion is to get some sense for the harm that comes from pseudoscientific or unfounded beliefs. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to pick an extraordinary claim to analyze for the whole class. And the goal here is to determine whether or not there's sufficient evidence to at least provide, a case that further investigation is warranted, right? So you might think of it as something like a pitch or a story that you're telling that gets you on a podcast, or you make a little video over, right? Now, if you can encounter the claim in person, that's wonderful, but don't spend any money at all for this project. Don't give out any personal information. If you're gonna email people for it, don't give them your personal email. Make up a fake email. Don't do any undercover work. Don't go anywhere alone. Don't trespass or visit an abandoned hospital, right? Ranchos Los Amigos. I once had students try to go in there, and right, that's trespassing. So don't try to trespass in a haunted house. Also, I once had a student ask me, well, my sister's going to this psychic anyway. She's paying the psychic. Can I go? And I said, no, right? You can't go to a psychic and pay to do that. It's not necessary for the class, and I don't want you to do it because it could open you up to losing a ton of money, right? I just don't want that. So you're prohibited from spending money on this project. You can pick from any of these topics. There are a ton of them. And if one of those don't interest you, check out these podcasts here. Now, Astonishing Legends is a really good podcast. They do very, very long format examinations of paranormal cases, and almost any podcast they have is pretty darn good. There are a couple that I was kind of like, nah, not so good, but generally speaking, they're pretty good. And the guys who do it are genuinely interested in the material. I mean, they're slaves to the stuff. They love it. So they really devote themselves to it. Next, I recommend Lore Podcast. This is also now becoming a special on Amazon. I think it's out in like 5 days or something. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm not like watching the calendar. This is a great podcast. However, it is also occasionally very graphic and disturbing. So I don't feel like, if you are someone who's kind of like me and maybe you get queasy easy, that's probably not the best podcast for you. That much being said, if you like things that are scary and dark, I just don't think you could possibly do any better than the Lore Podcast. Aaron Mahnke is a great storyteller, and he absolutely scares me. I mean, I'm 42 years old, right, and he still scares me out of my pants. So it's a very, very good podcast. I recommend it. Monster Talk is another good podcast. Lore is sort of neutral. He's just interested in the story. Is it a good story? Astonishing Legends tries to balance both sides, maybe a little tilted toward the paranormal, maybe not. They give, coverage to both sides of the argument. The Monster Talk podcast is a great one. It is almost unapologetically skeptical, right? It's very scientifically based, but they get great guests on there who really know their stuff. So I encourage you to take a peek at that. They don't just do monsters, they do other stuff too. And then an all-time classic, if you like paranormal stuff, I would encourage you to listen to The Unexplained. It's by Howard Hughes. He's a British, I guess he's sort of a celebrity. He's a career journalist. He's worked on the radio for many years in Britain, and he has produced hundreds of these podcasts involving psychics and UFOs and all kinds of cool, strange stories. He's also got a voice of gold. So if you're interested in that, I would encourage you to check out The Unexplained. Okay, now, where do I get that presentation stuff? I would encourage you to use PowerPoint if you've got it on your computer, or you can use Google Slides. I don't get a kickback from Google Slides or PowerPoint or anything. You can do whichever you like. But please don't give me any Mac presentation software. I cannot open Pages. One thing that I will encourage you to do, and I'll mention it again in the turn-in box, it's probably best for you to turn your slides into a PDF. If you don't know how to do that, it's fine. You can just go ahead and submit your slides. But when you submit them in a PDF, it's so much quicker to grade and go through. For some reason, the way that Canvas has to try to integrate the PowerPoint, it takes a long time to pull those up. So if you can print your slides into a PDF, that would be fantastic. I'm not going to force you to do it because it seems like technically that's a little extra work. Okay, how many presentations does a slide have to have? What is it supposed to look like, etc., etc.? Okay, here we go. So you're going to follow essentially the critical thinking toolkit that we looked at the beginning of the class, but the difference is this time you're going to have all the material to fill in between. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to be exact as to what the claim is. So if you are doing the Dark Knight satellite, which I can't see, but I'm sure I'm looking right. You could probably see it right now. You're going, it's right there, it's right there. If you're doing the Dark Knight satellite, you want to be specific, right? So it would be something like this. There has been an artificial satellite orbiting Earth for X thousand number of years or X hundred number of years, right? The reason why you need to be specific, remember, is that you need to be able to try and verify the details. You want to be specific, state your claim, who, what, when, where, and how, right? When did it happen? Where did it happen? That sort of thing. Then the next thing that you want to do is tell me whether or not the claim is extraordinary, right? If the claim is extraordinary, that's a big deal. You need to tell me because then that tells me who has the burden of proof, right? So remember our mantra, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Okay, next up. Then you will give me background and history of the claim. So sometimes your story may involve a broader background or history, so a broader trend of events. So for instance, if you were discussing a UFO sighting in the 20th century or something, right? Then you might want to also talk about historically, what is the status of UFOs been? Well, prior to the 20th century, we had the mystery airship, right, of 1897. A fleet of supposed mystery airships were appearing in the United States at this time. You can go back further and just tell me a little bit about, oh yeah, we have lots of old cases of people reporting things in the sky that they can't see. Maybe here's one or two, but you don't have to get super involved. Remember, it's recommended 1, maybe 2 slides. You can use text, you can use pictures, but make sure you give me enough that when you get to your analysis later, you're going to be using those facts, right? The point of the facts is to tell your reader enough stuff that they're able to evaluate with you and determine what you're going to be saying. Then you're going to evaluate the support. So are there credible sources for this claim? Are there multiple independent witnesses? Is there, right, Is the claim based on clear logic? Is the claim based on good observation? So that's scientific observation as opposed to anecdote. The next thing that you'll do, identify alternative hypotheses. What else could it have been? Maybe I saw a mystery airship in the air. Could it have been a bird? Could it have been a mirage? Could it have been a sun devil? Could it have been, right, a certain type of cloud, a lenticular cloud, right? And here you're going to rely on mostly A through C, maybe E. If you're doing something with regard to medical treatment, you might work on the placebo effect, and I would consult the textbook for that. But you're looking for alternatives to explain what else this could have been. Next, you will tell me, what do you think the evidence supports? And do me a favor, right? I'm not asking, what do you believe? I'm saying, you may believe something and yet you don't think the evidence supports it. That's fine. That's totally okay. That's probably a break, but you're still able to, right? The important thing is you can say, look, I believe this happened, but the evidence doesn't show that. What that means is you understand the argument, right? You understand what the argument is, and you understand why maybe you couldn't convince another person of it, but your own belief remains the same. Whatever you do here, tell me what you think the evidence supports. Don't go and say, well, nobody knows, but, right? Let me know, absolutely, 100%, which way you come down. And then lastly, this is going to tie into your very first two posts that you did up here. Tell me what the harm is of this extraordinary claim. So for some claims, like about alternative medicine or psychic powers, those harms are easier to locate because maybe somebody spends, thousands of dollars on cancer treatments. Maybe somebody else spends thousands of dollars on psychic readings. Well, these people are out the money, right? And so that harm is easy to quantify. It's economic. You can measure it, right? But for something like a conspiracy theory, this may be a little bit tougher, right? I mean, think about it. What is the harm of someone believing that 9/11 was an inside job? I mean, they're not losing any money on it. Well, I mean, there are some concerns here, right? If that claim is truly unfounded, then you have someone who is taking time away from other societal problems to focus on this fairy tale. Right? And that's a problem. If it's an unfounded claim, then it's almost by definition not worth moving forward with, right? There are other things you can do. So it's kind of a lost time argument, right? Lost opportunity argument. Well, I'm spending all my time researching this craziness, and so I'm not doing something else like studying gun control debates or something like that. That might be more beneficial to myself and to society. Second, conspiracy theories have a funny way of eroding trust in the government and our democratic processes, right? And this is very detrimental because then people become less engaged in public life and less willing to help us govern our society. So you might have to think a little bit about what the harm is for a certain claim. And if you're having trouble with that, email me and we should talk about it. Don't suffer in silence, right? Don't wait to get your points knocked off. Email me and say, I'm not sure how this is going to go, Professor Vitt. So another thing that I'll just mention this very, very briefly here, right? There's a harm involved in adhering to unfounded beliefs, and that those beliefs are less likely to just be true, right? And when that belief is formed without evidence, it's hard to convince somebody that it's wrong on the basis of evidence, right? And when that type of thinking becomes more prevalent in your life, in your daily life, you become a stick in the mud. And that's fine. You can be a stick in the mud, but the problem is, if you are wrong, then you are a massive problem, right? You are an intractable problem, and so there's a harm there. Remember, if you have questions, you're not sure what the harm is of your belief, let me know. Email me and we can chat about it. Okay, grading. Now, how is this presentation going to be graded? 15% of your grade on this presentation is going to be from the class discussion, your two posts. So did you find an article concerning harm and make an appropriate post? Did you meet the minimum length requirements for the assignment? And did you respond to another person's post? It does not need to be the most perfect post in the world, right? My gosh, my model post was missing a comma. It probably has other grammatical errors in there. So I'm not dying to know, oh gosh, is it grammatically perfect? It should look good. It should be right. But did you really thoughtfully take the time to look at the article and sort of summarize it and then indicate what the harm was? Okay, so that's the first part of your presentation. Remember, this is an important part because in order to talk about harm later on in your own project, you're going to need to have some kind of feedback from myself and your peers. Next, content. Okay, did you address questions 1 through 6 as applicable? Did you have enough information in there, or was it just a series of pictures, right? A series of pictures probably isn't going to get it done. Most certainly it's not, unless they're pictures of slides that have writing on them. Did you entertain both sides of the issue? You want to try and give the best possible case to the opposition, whatever way you go down. And then that way, people will understand, oh, you know, yeah, I mean, this person has made a real significant attempt to be neutral. Maybe they don't agree with you, but they understand you were trying to be impartial. You were really genuinely looking for the truth. Next up, your presentation itself. Is it typo-free and grammatically correct? Is it professional? Are all the slides one theme, right? These are the kinds of things that I'm looking for there. I have had students who've turned in slides that are literally from totally different themes with all kinds of errors on them. Yours should be one theme with some pictures. That would be great, but it doesn't have to be amazing. Even if you turn in a slideshow that doesn't have pictures on it, right? It doesn't really matter. You can still get a great grade. But, you know, it is a presentation. You want to try and liven it up so you can add some pictures that would be relevant to your presentation. Okay, you guys, that is the overview. And as usual, if you have any questions, please, you know, email me, and I'm happy to work with you on the project, and we can go from there. Okay, thanks a lot.